Hey, viewers and listeners, we are live and listen. We are coming to you with some information today about UVA sports. But yes, we are live and welcome to the Seven Cities Shoptalk Sports Show, broadcasting from the beautiful state of Virginia to you and everyone else all over the world. We want to thank you for joining us on another episode of our brand of dysfunctional camaraderie. And as of now, the shop is open. Of course, I got my co-host here, Chad Wood, with me in the building. We may have a couple other hosts pop in and out here. What's going on, Wood?
Hey, what's up, Law? How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. We got some things to talk about. According to what's going on in the world of University of Virginia sports. Of course, thinking about the spring game, we're gonna have a deep discussion, a deep dive on this. We naturally going to talk about the play on the field and kind of what we saw and what we think. You got two hardcore football guys here who really kind of like to deep dive in some of the things that that are going on from what we see on the field, kind of a standpoint. But then also, we're looking at some of the effects of what's been happening with the football team going into this year based off of what's happened in the past year, recent past. Also, we're going to talk about the basketball team, okay, and what's been happening with the basketball program and how you pretty much had to start from scratch. Coach Odom had to start from scratch, and I want to get your grade on what and also get your grade on the football program and how you feel about what you see and how you feel about it. But yeah, but definitely for the transfer portal, how do you think the basketball team or the basketball coaches are doing in the portal? And do you approve, of the players that they got coming in? That'll be a good discussion as well. Also, we'll talk about um, the women's softball program had a combined no hitter back to back. And we'll talk about softball stock up. Is the baseball team stock down? We'll get into that as well. But before we get that started, we want to thank you for spending time with us. But as of now, this shop is open. So Wood, man, Chad Wood, man. So let's kind of get in a little bit of this, man. Let's break this down a little bit from and we can get a little granular on it because it's just me and you right now. Because we can talk some ball and just kind of get into what we saw. You said that you had an opportunity to check some stuff out as well. Let's just look at it right now from 50,000 feet. What did you see? From just strictly football. Before we get into any of the other things, just a football standpoint. When we're talking about a spring football team on the field playing a blue and white game scrimmage.
Well, I think it's kind of hard to tell, as you know, because a lot of teams opted out of the spring game to begin with. But I respect Tony Elliott for even having the spring game. But it's hard to get real takeaways away from it because obviously offense and defense, they're not going to show too much either way. They're not going to go. I guess if I had a big takeaway, our red zone struggles continue. However, at the same time, we're not going to really show what we have because it's a nationally televised game. People are watching, coaches are watching. So we saw a little bit of the two quarterbacks we talked about, Chandler Morris and the other boy. I think they played at halftime, both of them. So, there were some good throws at times. Other times, I don't know. It's just really hard to tell, Law. Spring game always is what it is. It's really, you can't really take too much away from it either way. But a couple of running backs look good. But like spring game, if your offense look good, is your offense good? Is your defense bad? You know what I mean? It's always kind of hard to tell.
Right.
Being 3-0 at halftime or whatever it was, and then you scored a couple touchdowns in the second half. Spring game is really hard to decipher anything that you really see because, like I said, you don't know if your offense is good, your defense is bad, your defense is good, your offense is bad. And they really did. They were very, very, very vanilla, which I expected.
Mm-hmm.
Respectfully so. You're not going to come out and show what you have in the red zone. that backup kicker, he just needs to quit. He just needs to resign now. Beckers
Right.
is their guy, and other than that, but yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what to say about the spring game. There's not really much to take away from it, because they really didn't show a whole lot to be expected. But Chandler Morris made some good throws.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of the guy's name from Nebraska, but
Daniel Kaling.
yeah, he put some balls on the money. But again, until you really get going, it's really hard to tell. So I really don't have a grade. It's hard to grade a spring game because you had a whole lot of injuries. You had guys, missing injuries. They had surgeries. They weren't playing because they just had surgery. And then you got, very vanilla offense and defense to begin with. So I really can't give a grade, Law.
Okay. All right. I understand that. Um, my analysis of it, I was there in the press box, just kind of watching it, and as I sit there with some media people, which was a surprise to me because, and I'm trying to look at this from above, where you don't necessarily okay. First of all, when you're looking at it a little bit from what I'm looking at it from, you typically are looking at it from a media standpoint where you have a media community. They're all coming in. We're all a lot of us are try to be objective and try to be even on some things, even though we may lean a little bit here or there based on what's going on with the team, who you favor from a coach standpoint to a player standpoint. But for the most part, you just want to have an even mind going into watching a game, the spring game, and give your honest opinion on what you're covering. So for me, I went in with this, with that attitude, with that mindset. But I I was kind of confused a little bit because when I even came into the media area, there wasn't that many media people there. At first, I was one of the first people there. Once I got there, and I want to say it was maybe an hour and a half, maybe hour 45 minutes before kickoff, and I really didn't see hardly any media there, which to me is a red flag, huge red flag. But I kind of blew that off, and I was like, all right. I said, I get it. It's just the spring game, um, and still trying to look at it from all right. This is what's going on with the team or with the media, and everybody hasn't made it in yet. But I, I was looking at how many fans were there as well, and that was a second red flag. That was just alarming to me. That was the game. There wasn't really people, that many of us, talking about the actual game from where I was sitting. Some of us, I mean, there was a few guys who flashed a little bit, but a good part of the conversation was, you know, this is the smallest crowd I've ever seen for a spring game, pretty much almost anywhere. We were, right at the beginning of the spring game. Of course, people filled in, but number one side of the field, actually, let me take that back. 3/4 of the field was not filled in. In front of us, where we were, there was nobody there. The hill, there was, a few kids here and there, like little ones. Then going around to the other side of the bowl where the locker rooms are, there was nobody there. And then there was just one section directly across from 35 to like 35, or maybe even no, 30 to 30, 35, 35, something like that, where there was some fans there. There was not a lot of fans there. We were in the beginning there, we're like, that 200-300 people, at the most, from the beginning, which, all of our alarms were going off, especially my alarms were going off for that, because I'm like, has it gotten so far or gotten so bad that fans are which is what you do not want, are is it apathetic? It's where they do not feel anything for the program, whether you like it or you don't like it, or they just are indifferent about it, which is the worst thing you can have about any kind of a sport like football, where you know I'm there, from there I'm not, if I'm not, it really doesn't matter to me. And that's kind of what my feel was, about being there and kind of watching it, and I really try to be even, when it comes to, the fans and what the fans want to, when they come in, they're spending their money, they are, spending their time there trying to figure out what's, spending the time on how they want to spend their Saturday, at the University of Virginia and on the grounds in Charlottesville. So, you kind of pull back and say, all right, well, what are the reasons, that there's such a small crowd there, especially at the beginning of the spring game? Well, there was a baseball doubleheader. They brought that up, in the press box. They're like, there's a doubleheader that started at noon as well. Did this game start too soon? Is noon a little too early? Although, you kind of want to get your spring game out of the way, early part of the day. And that's kind of what some of the folks are thinking. Was a little too early. I don't know if there was so much there as well. I know that there was at one time, there was like bounce houses for little kids. There was face painting. I didn't really go to the east side of the stadium. I just came in on the west side, and I think most people had to enter on the east side of the stadium. And I really didn't see too much of like the festive side of the event. Devin was there. Devin says, "Big Law, what you thinks about quarterback play? At least we got two." Yeah. We and we're gonna get into that, Devin. We're gonna talk about the quarterbacks, and what I saw. But for right now, the talking about the atmosphere, what I felt this team, or the atmosphere there, which it almost just like really like pushed my like sad button. Like, all right, something has to change. Something has to turn around. And I was speaking with some of the folks. I'm not gonna say who in the media, but we're saying they got to win like right now. It's. I'm not gonna say like critical mass, but they have to win. This was, I don't want to use the word really disheartening, but it was, man. And you look at other spring games, that are on, whether the SEC network, which is kind of almost unfair to compare, but even some of the other ACC games that were televised on the ACC network, you almost, looking at the crowd and how quiet it was. It was quiet. It was what do they call it? Mouse piss on cotton quiet. And Chad cheesing, laughing, but it was that kind of quiet in the stadium, and I was just sitting there and just looking, and I'm like, there's got to be something going on, something different, man. So that was my first big concern, in my big opinion, about what in the hell's going on. And the stadium was pretty much empty, and something really drastic has to happen. So let's kind of get into what I saw on the field, and this is, like Chad said, they are, and this is what one of the coaches said to me. I was down the field. Coach said, we had our spring game last week, and he did. They had a harder scrimmage, a tough scrimmage, where our starters against starters, so to speak. Players got hurt, some players got injured, which is why you didn't have a lot of players out there. You also didn't have some players like Cam Robinson, who didn't even practice, who didn't even participate in the spring game, period. So that was that. So you had players like that as well, who are everyday starters on the team, who did not even suit up for this spring, and participate in this event. So there was that as well. So on the field, this is what I can say, that, and the coaches, you're right, Chad, they're going to run vanilla. They're not doing anything. They're not putting anything on film, nothing on tape. And that's what the coach said as well. We're not showcasing anything. We're going to run 4 plays, 3 to 4 plays is what he said. And it was about 3 or 4 plays, maybe a little bit here and there. Not much different. But one thing you're looking for in the spring game is flashes. One thing about spring football as well, they've been running the same plays against each other for 2 months. So it's not like a lot of the stuff that they were seeing was stuff they hadn't seen all practice. They hadn't seen, the defense have been seeing these offensive plays all practice. They've been working hard to stop them. So it wasn't like it was, oh man, the DBs are surprised. The linebackers, got sucked up. It was just different. It wasn't the same as playing like a real like scrimmage against another team. So they really didn't show anything. But I from what I saw, then like the coaches, they're looking for flashes. Meaning they're looking for players that definitely stick out a little bit. And that Peggy said it was right. The running back from North Carolina Central, in the beginning, he looks like a superior player in that spring game. I mean, they ran him in the beginning of the spring game, giving the ball off tackle. And you could see his explosiveness or his 1 to 100 speed was quick. He could get to almost like his top cruising speed, right away, which we really hadn't had that. Someone who was that quick, to get up on plane, as we would say if you was driving a boat, and get up on plane really quick, and the holes, were there. He saw them, he got through them pretty quick, and he was, broke a couple tackles and, sustained, some hits, stayed up a little bit and got down the field. Xavier was, he's a tough runner, and looked, like Xavier would look. But the running back from Central looked really good to me. He flashed to me. The quarterback play, and I'm gonna come to you, Wood. What did you think of some of the quarterback? You said something a little bit about it, but what did you feel, when you saw the quarterback Chandler play? Because remember, Ballhawk said, even though we lost 10 to the portal, he said we will be very happy with 4. Give me your opinion on that. And that's Chandler. He's talking.
Yeah. But I think Chandler Morris, he put a couple balls on the money. So did the other kid. I keep forgetting his name. But no, piggybacking on what you were just talking about, that running back, I don't know his name, but from Central, but he was probably the highlight of everything I saw. He's the most exciting that I've been for a running back in a while, because not only did he hit the hole, but very rarely did the first guy take him down.
Yep.
He broke a lot of tackles just from a spring game. But like I said, with the quarterback, Morris, he put some balls on the money, and so did the other kid from, was it Nebraska?
Nebraska, Daniel Killeen.
I mean, they both put some balls on the money, and they missed a few. But again, it's just so hard to tell a spring game, like you were saying. But when you were talking about the crowd, I think it was pitiful. Just, I was watching on TV, but the most people were on the visitor side, right?
Everyone was on the visitor side. There was nobody on the.
It looked like behind the home bench was empty.
There was nobody there. Nobody was there. Nobody, like that's where the west side. No one was on the west side.
Yeah,
the Hill had
behind the visitors where they normally
20,
a couple of people.
20 little ones. The Hill had like 20 little ones. I mean, young ones, like, ages maybe 5 to 10. 20 of those, 30 of those little kids over there playing on the rolling down the hill. Across from them where the teams come out, nobody was there. And from 35 to 35 on the visitor side is where the fans were, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm not talking about the quarterbacks. I think it's. I mean, they both made some good throws, but I don't know. Like you said, is it just lack of interest in the program? And we'll see. I don't know. I don't think looking at the baseball crowd like that took a whole lot away from it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not, but we'll see. I don't know if
Jamari
interest.
Taylor.
I don't know if interest is if people have lost interest because they had interest last year before we really hit the NIL this offseason. So I think they'd have more interest now. But
Mm-hmm.
looking at the crowd we saw, I don't know, man. I hope it's not
I hope it's not too.
disinterest in the program, but I mean that would make sense because baseball is not going to take away that many people, especially when the baseball team is struggling. To be honest with you,
my mind was saying, okay, if there was 200 to 300 there to start and I was talking to my guy Jerry Ratcliffe. Man, we asked Jerry, and I looked down. I said, Jerry, I said, you have the most tenured eyes here in the press box. I said, what do you see across the way there? How many fans? Jerry wouldn't even give a number. Jerry kind
oh
of looked
Hootie,
at it.
oh Hootie.
Jerry kind of looked at it and was like, I don't even know. I can't even really say. Jerry didn't even give me a number. That's and he said, but it's probably the worst I ever seen. Coming
And
to all these games.
Jerry's normally half full, so
Yeah. And a few of my other guys were in there, and they were like, I don't even know.
I can't really comment. I just saw it was on TV, but man, it looked pitiful.
It was dismal. I mean, and Ballhawk said, hey, with this schedule, they should win enough to get to a bowl game. I am going to be.
Oh, it's a lot easier than last year. That's for sure.
It does. I am going to be hawk-eyed on this season. I think, and this is what I'll say. You said something about the quarterbacks earlier. I like the quarterbacks. I'm gonna comment on them now. Chandler. One thing I can say is the quarterbacks. The top three guys. They were throwing some dimes a little bit out there. Nothing deep though. Remember, they're not showing anything far down the field. They were just, but they were throwing balls and feathering balls in that I said, wow. I said, I haven't seen, a touch feathered ball to a tight end or to a receiver going down the seam. And I said, wow. I said, that's a different ball you really haven't seen us complete too much, especially going down the seam. Huh?
Says Matt Schaub to Heath Miller.
Absolutely right. I mean, they did a good job of, showing, showcasing some of the talents. And even one thing I will say about the quarterbacks, all of them had wheels. Did anybody notice that? All of these guys, they got out of the pocket when they had to, and they showed that they could run. They could really run.
But getting out of the pocket is a good thing.
I think it was but it wasn't from being flushed. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
A little bit of it was from being flushed, but a lot of it was, the DBs were covering. Of course, like I said, they're running the same plays, so the DBs kind of have an idea of what's coming.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell too, because anytime you got close to them, they would blow it dead like a sack. You know what I mean? They blow the whistle. So I think they could have got out of a few they blew dead, but anytime you got near the quarterback, they would blow the whistle. And I think a couple of them they could have got out of them, but
and not to mention, like my man Devin's saying, they're still not done in the portal. We got to understand and realize that, they're still gonna go after some players that are available in the portal. So it's recruiting's not over, from that standpoint. They're gonna still try to add some talent based off of where they came out of the spring game from an injury standpoint, and also maybe trying to replace some talent or add some talent to what they felt they needed throughout the spring. Because there were a lot of guys that were injured that were out that didn't even participate. But a lot of times the spring game is the coaches want to see someone who pops, somebody who comes out and looks like, oh, wow, we were running the same plays. he looks different running that same play over and over and over than the other players look over and over. I saw Davis Lane. They had moved him to running back. He got some run in the backfield. He's the kind of guy, and he did okay. He didn't stick out too much, but I recognize him because of his name. Been there for a little while. He's the kind of guy, I'm pretty sure he still has the speed. You give him a lane, no pun intended, and the guy has a kind of speed. When he first came to Virginia, he was one of the fastest kids in the state, if not the fastest was it 100 meter? Was it 110 meter? Something like that. Davis Lane was one of the top fastest kids in the state when he came here as a senior out of high school. And he's kind of kid, you give him a crease, and he could go a long way. So, but yeah, Jamari Taylor, I believe, what was his name? From North Carolina Central, looked great. And like I said, it doesn't take him long to get to his top gear, about a step or two, and he's moving. His legs are moving. He's very quick. Haven't seen anybody that quick in a long time. And he looked good carrying the ball. And of course, he was an all-conference player coming out of the MEAC. So I really like what I saw with him. The defenses were tough. Well, what do we expect? The defenses are gonna play tough because they've been playing against those same plays all spring. So we did not have, some of the stud defensive players that we're looking for, who transferred in. So it's gonna be a crapshoot, sadly to say. We really didn't see too much. We know that, we know that from every spring game. They want to run the ball, and they run the ball, and but the quarterbacks did show they had some wheels, and they did show. I saw some more touch on balls that I hadn't seen here in a while, and I'm going back to even Bryce Perkins, who could, throw a strawberry through a battleship, had a strong arm, but the touch piece that Brandon Armstrong, to me, didn't have like the touch piece you wanted. Calandria had a little bit of the touch. These guys were, all of them, the first three guys at least, were feathering the ball in, feathering over the middle, like right over the linebacker, in between the safety. I've seen that about 4 or 5 times. And I think on a couple back-to-back plays, and they look really good at completing those passes. So Sage Ennis didn't play either, so you didn't even get your top tight end out there over the middle, trying to catch some of those balls. So, but they didn't want to show a lot. They didn't give us a lot either. But, I need to see what's going to happen come this spring. I'm going to be hawk-eyed, eagle-eyed, whatever you want to call it, on this season because, and early. And we're going to see what happens early. Coastal Carolina, this is going to be a much scrutinized game for me. I need to see something, man. And and the fans as well. And I understand everyone's upset. I know and understand everyone is not confident in what's going on with the program right now. And I feel like there needs to be some kind of a change, a quick change. And the only thing that is going to change that is winning. And if they can get any kind of wins early, and try to change some of that feeling, some of that culture, maybe, and I don't even know how season tickets are going to go. I mean, would anything, you heard any people, friends, other fans have talked about it? I mean, I'll have my season tickets, but I'm not, paying the big bucks either. I'll have my 2, but I'm in the 525 section, so I'm not paying a gang of money, right off the top. So, and I'll be, giving those out, in the season as well for fans, viewers and listeners, as I always have. But give me your opinion on that, Wood, about, tickets. What do you think? Fans, friends who are ticket holders, is everybody like holding out, from what I mean, I can see people are holding out. But from your standpoint, what do you see?
I mean, you got, diehard fans like myself, the group I'm in, we've been tailgating for years together. We're always going to get our tickets, but I think, even amongst the group like that, it's like we're looking for a spark. I mean, like you said earlier, it's
Yeah.
like you saw at the spring game. It's like the results don't lie what you saw in the spring game. Like we had baseball, but that didn't take away that much. I think a lot of people are down on this program. Most people are down on this program, even the
The
diehards,
commentators.
like even the diehards, are looking for a reason to hang on. So I think we'll see early in the season. But to be honest, we didn't really give it a fair chance last year. To be honest, with Tony Elliott, we really didn't give it a fair shot. I mean, we didn't show up either way when we started winning. But I think this year's gonna tell the tale. But like you said early on, we're gonna really know early in the season. We start winning. I think it may pick up, but if we start losing like early, it's gonna be not worse than the spring game, but I don't know. I think even the loyal fans, we're just not there right now. I don't know what the disconnect is, but it's just so much change going on, and we're not winning ball games. I think nothing against Elliott, but he's won 12 games in 3-4 years. I think it's the lowest in D1 currently. So I don't know. We're in a bad spot, but hopefully we win a few games early and we get the fans back. But I'm rooting for them. But I'm like you, like we're not in a good spot right now.
You're absolutely right, man. And like I said, hawk-eyed, eagle-eyed on this on the beginning of this season. I've got to see something to give me a little bit of a better feel, a better feeling of what I just saw at the spring game. I mean, we didn't have a lot of players that were there, that did not play, did not participate. And they're the big blow of not having Monroe Mills being able to play this year, that's a biggie. That is absolutely huge.
We broke it first, didn't we?
Chad Wood on the spot, and he's getting the interview with Joe, right?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, man.
That was the most disheartening thing because last year it was just par for the course. We were going through the motions, but give credit to the staff. I mean, they hit the portal hard. We got some good ball players, man.
They did.
That was most disheartening because we hit the portal hard and we got some good ball players, and then you see the spring game crowd is like, man, like I would expect that last year because we didn't have any momentum, but it seemed like we get some 4 or 5 stars. We got a guy from Alabama, Ohio State.
Yep, Ohio State.
Right. We got some good ball players, and like they played Saturday.
Yeah. Got the best center in the portal. Got the couple kids from a JMU squad that was really talented. You can't even call JMU or Liberty, lesser teams anymore because they're ranked.
Monroe Mills, he was left tackle. Obviously, he didn't play, but we got him. We got the boy from Alabama that recovered the fumble.
Yep, defensive tackle.
But those guys played. It wasn't like they weren't playing at all. So I thought we had a little momentum, and the fans still didn't show up. So I mean,
Chandler Morris was a big get.
I would expect it last year, but again, it's the spring game, so I won't. It's not a fire drill yet, but last year I would expect like a less attendance because we were terrible and we really didn't have a lot of going other than mid-majors. But now we got some guys from Ohio State, Alabama, the top left tackle, top center. Like they hit the portal hard. Like I'll give them credit. So I would expect to see more.
Central Florida, Purdue wide receivers.
I mean, Chandler Morris, he was a top quarterback in
Chandler Morris and Daniel, the kid from Nebraska, was a top young quarterback, developmental quarterback in the portals. Another 4-star, high 4-star kid. One of the top, he was a top 20 quarterback coming out when he was a camp a top 20 camp kid at quarterback in the nation as well.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
won't sound the alarm yet, but like you said, the first 2 games of the season is going to, that's going to set the tone.
It really is, man. It really is. And I'm very interested to seeing and wondering what the season tickets look like. I just saw something for the basketball season ticket offers come out, and I'm like, did you see that, Chad? It was like a 5-year plan was like $17,000. I'm like, shit, $125,000 for like the floor seats. I'm like, come on, man. What's going on, Kelly? Thank you for tuning in. Devin, Kelly, Peggy. Thank y'all for tuning in. What's going on? But yeah, think about that, man. That was,
Yeah, but the basketball, they try to spin it, going to provide a better product and, this, not, and the third. But the bottom line is they're raising prices.
yeah, they really
Kind of
are.
like they did football under Al Groh.
Right.
And I hope it doesn't turn
Right.
out the same, but.
I mean, this is it. I mean, they need to, like this ball hawk said, we need 6. We need to go bowling. I mean, with this roster, maybe, hopefully it seems like they should go bowling. 6 games, 7 home games, right? They got 7 home games, which is a rare thing. Sometimes you get some teams with 7. Sometimes 7 home games. Sometimes you get some teams that only have 5 home games. But UVA actually is at home 7 home games this year out of 12. So if they can pull off, over 500 and then sneak a couple off the road, all of a sudden you're talking about, a team that can play in some postseason play. And Tony Elliott, in my opinion, saves his job. If he can get to a bowl game. Do you agree with that, Wood?
But I mean, at that crowd, is it really a home field advantage?
I'm not saying, I'm not talking about a home field advantage. I'm just saying the players sleeping in their own beds in their own dorms. That's what I'm saying. Their own apartments and being comfortable. I can't even talk about the fan base being advantage. That was not where I was going with that. Where I was going was the players are comfortable not traveling, sleeping in their own beds, getting up with their regular routine, game day routine, so that the players are going to play better because they're in familiar surroundings. They're supposed to, going on the road, on a bus, then getting ready to play right away. I'm just looking from a player advantage standpoint, not a home field advantage standpoint. That's that's a ship sail, right? That's a ship that I don't know what I'm going to get from the fan base at this point. They what is it? They have spoken, right? the fan base has spoken in a lot of different ways, and it didn't take long to get the message across. A couple years, last not this past year, but the year before, you could really see some signs of it. Then, of course, last year it was definitely a message sent by the fan base by the no-shows. And then, of course, this spring game is another yelling, screaming message of no-shows as well, which, is disheartening from someone who follows the program and has covered the program going on my 12th or 13th, whatever it is, 13th season now, where, and then hearing from some of the elder statesmen in the press box saying, I've never seen it this bad. I've never seen the support wane this much. And like you said, they won 5 games last year and they hit the portal hard. They brought in a ton of talent. So why, is it not, and I think, isn't that the word apathetic? You feel no feelings, right? Which is worse, which is the worst thing that you can feel for something when you don't have any feeling for it. And somebody can correct me on that word, but I believe that's the word or something of that word in that vein is what I'm looking for. But we'll keep an eye on football. We still got the portal. They're going to still go out, try to acquire more talent to build that roster. But guys, heal up, get healthy. We're still looking for great things from you. And I want to see what we're going to do. I mean, I really believe the quarterbacks are better this year And that's not a knock on Musket, not a knock on Calandria, but I just feel like both of these guys, are could possibly be the difference between 5 wins and 7 wins, and I'm gonna leave it at that. So let's talk about the basketball portal. Have you seen what's going on in the basketball portal, Wood?
Yeah, I mean,
I know, I know you said some things a little earlier, like, how much money we paying mediocre players, something to that effect. You can clean it up for me exactly.
no, but I
What were you
mean,
saying?
the more you think about it, I mean, if you look at the top predominant basketball players and the rosters in college basketball right now, a lot of them have mid majors that came, and that's why mid majors are going to be a thing of a past soon. You know what I mean? When you have great mid major players, the top programs are going to come in and swoop them up. So I'm not going to say that's going to be a negative thing. I just think with Ryan Odom, I mean, who are our big guys? You know what I mean? We got what, 2 big guys on. I know we got 9 days left, so I won't say it's the end of it now. But we got a lot of point guards. We got, how many big guys do we have? 2.
1.5. No,
So
I mean, seriously, the
I mean, I
six
know we
eight
got a lot
kid
of
from
point guards.
France. The six
He
eight
likes to,
kid from France. He's a kind of a,
so our
even
point
though
guards.
he's 6. Yeah, go ahead.
Odom likes to play up tempo, up and down the court, and great on defense,
Yes,
on the
yes.
ball, defense, on the ball, up and down the court. So I understand we need a lot of point guards, a lot of shooting guards, small forwards, but I mean,
Wings, yeah, 3 and D.
it just concerns me right now with their front court. Obviously, we got what, 9 days left in the portal, so I'm sure we have a couple guys. I know a lot of guys. 2 guys we were talking to went to Clemson the last 2 days, but we got to fill out the front court. Or I'm kind of concerned. How are we gonna
I'm
stop the
very
guys
concerned.
inside?
Well, the portal's kind of barren right now for kids that I felt like they could possibly get, and then you don't keep Kofi. The one kid who I had hope with was Isaiah, and he's out. Yeah, I thought that he would be one of the ones that could come back, and we didn't get any kids come back. I was thinking hopefully 1 or 2 of the kids who played last year could come back, and hopefully the younger ones. I was hoping Anthony Robinson. Anthony Robinson's still out there, isn't he? I don't think he committed anywhere. Do you remember the big man committing?
No, he's gone.
He's gone. Well, I know
I can't
Kofi's
remember
gone.
where, but the only one we kept was Gertrude.
Elijah, and then he's an injury. He's coming
Yeah,
off a huge injury.
he had 2 knee injuries.
That's right. That's right. So he's coming off a huge injury.
He was riding a scooter or something and wrecked it or something.
Yeah, yeah. It will also Chris Bliss hasn't. I don't think he's committed anywhere either. Which, for him to not have
I
a
think
home, that
Gertrude
speaks
was the only
volumes.
scholarship player that's coming back.
That was left, right, and it was Elijah Saunders was the other one.
Yeah, he left.
That had actually stayed for a little bit before he bolted. So you don't have
But
Saunders.
I don't think Odom wanted to keep anybody, to be honest, from what I hear.
Outside of once he's healthy, the freakazoid Elijah Gertrude, who fits that style.
Right.
He actually was one of the players who fits that Odom style, that up and down, full court pressing, athletic, stealing, trapping, pressing type of a defense. Look at my man Robert. What's going on? Chime in. He says to have north of $7 million NIL money, I'm not very impressed with his portal acquisitions. Silas Barksdale, Dylan Hall, Martin Carrera, Carter Lang is a walk-on. Right. So that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm not the big man. I'm very concerned. I don't see any big man unless somebody decommits or somebody up and leaves a team. It's almost like the Syracuse big man. I know he was in the portal. Is he still out there? That guy who gave us fits this past year. I don't know. I'm just looking, and I know that the system you got to be able to, and you got to be able to run, jump, play fast. Very active hands, quick hands. You're playing a quick style of basketball when you're playing for Odom. Also, the big man that he was hoping that he would get hasn't committed here. There was a big man that was can't remember his name, but there was another big man who was at Virginia Commonwealth who has not who didn't commit to him that we thought would transfer over as well. And he didn't make a decision to come over. He visited, but he did not. Eric says, what does the FSU big man decide? Good question, because he was a stud and he was hurt, I believe, when we played him, and he was one of the top big men in the ACC. That would be an enormous get if that guy can make a difference and come through and make a commitment to play at University of Virginia. Anthony Robinson is at Xavier. Thank you for that, Robert. Yeah, that was one of my guys. That was one of my guys who I felt is a program builder. He redshirted and strong. Still had his athleticism. Kid was catching oops from from a lot of guys, could play up tempo and was athletic and strong enough, I think, to play in any system. But yeah, so my grade right now, I've got to give it like a C, just a C right now. And it can go a little higher based off of what big men come through. But, some of the players that are coming in, I mean, some of them were good on their teams. I mean, I was a little stunned that the kid from Oklahoma, the point guard from Oklahoma, the starter, just gave up and transferred out because I guess I don't know if it's because of, but as soon as the BYU point guard committed, he decommitted. You got any news on that, Wood? You hear anything about that?
No, I just think he saw we had a lot of point guards, which we needed the Odin system. But like you said, I think you're about a C minus probably. But like you said, really concerned about the front court. Because you can have as many guards as you want, but if they pound the ball inside, we're in trouble. As of now, obviously we have 9 days left, but
right there you go. Luke Bayombe, there you go, was the center. Is there any? And there you go, Matt. Appreciate that. Do you have any information on Bayombe? Bayombe? Yeah, from. Did he make a decision yet? Is he staying at VCU? Or is he coming over? He's one of those very long, athletic type guys that Odom, likes, and of course, naturally, he recruited him at VCU, and trying to get him to come over to Charlottesville. And I was wondering if, because I hadn't seen him, Luke, make a decision yet. So that's definitely something that I'm
I would say send
concerned
Rob
about.
the link.
What was that?
Send Rob the link.
The
Hop
link?
on, Rob.
Oh, Rob, there you go. I'm gonna give you the link, Rob. I want you to hop on. Yeah. Hold on a second, Rob. Let me see if if you can hop on. Send me the thumbs up because we need to because Rob at this, he was on the still honorary part of the team. He had done some work with us too. Was a part of it. Let me see here. Because Robert definitely a basketball guy.
He's got the
call him Eclipse. I want to say hey Rob, aren't you like 6'8", 6'7", 6'8"? I'm serious. They call him Eclipse. And remember that movie was Sylvester Stallone, and he was in jail
in North Carolina.
No, it was when Sylvester Stallone he was in jail wrongfully accused, and there was a big guy in there, and they call him Eclipse. He's almost like Duncan, the man that was in what was his name? Michael Duncan Clark. Just an enormous man. I know Robert is like 6'7", 6'8" himself, somewhere in that realm. But yeah, let me see if you want to get on here, Robert. And
Robert holding it down in the Tri-City.
yeah, absolutely. But I just sent you a link, Robert, to your messenger if you want to try to get on. But yeah, man, I just thinking about where this team is going to look. It's a totally different atmosphere, and what I think we're going to do and what we're going to get. Uh, some people have are Tony Bennett um, followers, to their core. You're going to have those, and you're going to have people that are going to always criticize the legend. Who comes after the legend. They say you never want to be the guy who follows a legend. But if you don't have a choice, sometimes, you got to take your opportunity when it comes, and his opportunity came. I think we're gonna have a more exciting style of basketball, so to speak. Meaning, the up tempo style is gonna uh, be something that Virginia's gonna have to get used to. Fan base meaning, we're gonna jack a lot of threes up. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They shoot a lot of threes. It's either a dunk, or three, with the, with this squad, going to the rim or shooting a three, and pretty much chaos because he runs, two different teams. He's gonna run one team in, and give me 100%. Once you're done, let's get the other guys in, and we'll let them run and trap, and then put the other guys back in and do the same thing. So,
well, that's why he went with so many point guards. That's why he recruited so many point guards, because he's up and down. He's not full court press, but he picks you up at half court right off the get go. And all the guys that he's recruited, if you notice on point guard, they have high 3-point percentage.
Yeah,
so I think he's looking for sharpshooters on the outside and guys that play on ball defense right after half court. So nothing against the guys who love Tony Bennett. I'm one of them, but it's going to be completely different basketball. Those 45 to 41 games are over with.
You ain't lying, brother. It is over. I can tell you, playing a squad like North Carolina, where it is gonna be a track meet. It's gonna be a track meet. And look, North Carolina's not immune to that either. North Carolina lost their 5-star kid, who's a shooter, and they lost their point guard as well. In addition to RJ Davis graduating. So they've been hit by the transfer bug as well. So it's not like it's a situation where Virginia is the only one that's suffering. It's just Virginia had one person gonna return, and that person is returning because of all probably the injuries that he had. And he doesn't really have anything on film for the past year. So I'm hoping to see this team be something, number one, of something we haven't seen before. But if there's anything like what VCU plays, he's gonna implement that. It seems like he does. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I mean, another thing about him, where he's been, he's won. He has a winning record. He's won decently, not quite. Here we go. There's Matt. There's Matt. What's up, man?
Gentlemen, how you been?
What's up, Matt? Hey, man. We gotta get you back on here, some Matt. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Tell you, just taking everything in. UVA basketball, football.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But I said earlier, though, looking at that money they have, supposedly, I'm not too impressed. I mean, front court wise, one thing I noticed, Duke is always going to get strong big men in the front court.
Right.
Same thing.
Hey, hold on, Matt. Let me introduce you guys. This is Robert Mapp, everybody. Robert Mapp has been part of the Seven City Shoptalk sports team actively and is honorably still part of the team. He just hasn't been around a little bit, but we're trying to get him back. As of right now, we're trying to coax him back in here a little bit because Matt always is on as a listener, and definitely would love to get you back on a little bit more, Matt. How you doing, though, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
I threw him a few NIL dollars. He's back now.
Well, I had I entered portal. I joined the Gerald League.
Right, right.
6'8" center, 6'8" center. But hey,
That's right. That's right. That's our center right there, Wood.
you
Yeah.
know.
Eclipse. Look, he got Green Mile on his name. You see him, right? Exactly right.
But saying though, look at Duke, Florida State, Carolina. They always made a practice of getting strong, big men in the front court.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry, 6'8" is not a center in college hoops. I mean, that's a strong power forward.
Okay.
The days of Travis Watson are gone. You need somebody 6'10", 7 foot,
Mm-hmm.
who's a monster in the paint. You got to have that if you're going to win games.
What about the kid from Syracuse? He hasn't.
Oh yeah,
He's still out there, isn't he?
he still is. But getting him to come down to UVA. See, it's sometimes too. I think it's academics. They may want to come here, but will their credits transfer
right
down here to Charlottesville? That's the question.
That's right. That's right. You got a point with that. But that was one center that I had my eye on as well, and I don't. And like you said, Luke has not made a decision yet either, has he? He's only 6'8". He's one of those very long, lanky, athletic guys as well. But but he hasn't made a decision, has he?
Not yet. He's got a 7'2" wingspan. I mean,
there we go. Like who was the guy?
Pretty much like DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah,
DeAndre had a long wingspan, and so did what's his name, Ryan Dunn. Problem with that is though, he weighs 200 pounds. If he were to come here, Mike Curtis would be a busy man. Put some weight on him, put some muscle mass on him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, right. Yeah. Understood there. Would you want to ask Robert Wood?
No, I mean I'm piggybacking off what you said about the front court. He's been following it obviously more than I have. Other than those two guys, is there any obviously we have the point guards now with a couple of shooting guards, but mostly point guards, and I think that comes from picking up a half court and tight defense, running up and down the court. But Robert, is there any other than the two guys we just mentioned? Are there any guys we're really looking at that will make us affordable offense? Our defense, as far as other than having 5 point guards and no big men, or any other big men that we're looking at that we don't recognize we're looking at?
Well, you mentioned the guy in Florida. He'd be a great acquisition. I mean, good rim protector, blocker. Say you want somebody down there. I mean, we haven't had a dominant center since Diakite and Huff left.
Mm-hmm. You said from Florida Gators?
Florida
State. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we haven't had a strong center since Huff and Diakite left. That's reality. Those guys are here. They made you think twice about going to that rim.
Yeah, you're right about that. And he has an attitude. He has a bad disposition, and I mean bad meaning good.
Yeah.
You're not. He gives you attitude, which is I was always a fan of basketball players with attitudes. Basketball is always kind of seen as a soft sport, and every team to me needs an enforcer, almost like hockey. Hockey actually has 2 and 3 enforcers. If your enforcer is your big man, that's a great thing to have. And then, that whole attitude can run through the entire team. Think about Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn.
Oh, yeah.
In the way that worked down to like the guards. Isaiah and Dumars were, tough and were little jerks, out there because they knew the big man was going to always be tough and had their back. So, that's something you want.
I mean, think about it. We saw, what's the name? Robertson, he blocked Cooper Flag's dunk. That was a highlight. And I was really hoping they find a way to hang on to him because he has such an upside.
I wanted him so bad too.
So I mean, I don't know what happened in that meeting, individual meetings or team meeting, but to lose him, I think about it. He only had one Power 5 school that wanted him when he was in high school. That was UVA.
Yeah.
So, and that's crazy. We just had 2 big guys that visited us last 2 weeks, and I think both of them committed to Clemson.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, we probably got. I mean, we have to have 3 to 5 guys out there we're still talking to we don't know about. But I mean, we got to have at least 3 more commits in the front court. If not, I mean, we're going to get eaten up inside.
Oh yeah, like I said too, man. I mean, they have that money. I mean, I understand.
Oh, we lost you, Matt.
You hear me?
There,
Hear me now?
there you go. Go ahead.
I mean, I understand why we lost McNeely. He want to put the whole bankroll into Isaac, but you got to
Right.
find somebody in that front court. I mean, I know that he doesn't like. He wants his guards to slash the rim, not take outside shots all day. And I get that, but like Gertrude, what's he 6'4", 6'3"?
6'4".
Now imagine him going in the paint against that kid who committed Clemson, the 7-footer. What be
Oh
pretty?
man, Dwayne said Beverly said that FSU got committed to Arkansas.
Well,
Mm.
I'm gonna tell you, man. Hey, the SEC, they're spending that NIL money. I mean, they are doing it. To go from a football conference to having so many teams in the the Sweet Nose, the AA tournament this past season. I mean,
Yeah, it
see,
was warranted.
yeah. And see, I know UVA they interviewed Staples for the GM. They need a GM, somebody who has time to go after these guys.
That's
I
right.
mean, yeah.
Somebody to so the coaches can coach, and this being this coach's first few years, he needs to really implement his system and not have to be worried about money, recruiting so much from a finance standpoint. He needs to implement his system, implement it heavy, and retool the culture, because we don't, without Tony and nobody left from Tony pretty much from a on court standpoint, this is a total different idea and mood that we're going to see coming into this basketball season. I'm excited to see it, but I am worried, like Wood said, what in the hell are we going to do without no big men? We're going to trap all day. We're going to trap trap every ball.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have one of these days. I mean, it's a must. Having a dominant center, it's a must.
Absolutely, and that and a power forward or two.
Yeah, you got to have that. Like I said before, man, the 3-point shot, as well as I do, they don't always drop.
Listen, live and die.
Yeah,
3-point team, you live by it, you die by it.
I mean, that kid Silas Barksdale, now he has potential, but you can't expect him to play all 40 minutes.
So what was his measurables?
No, he's 6'8".
Okay.
I said
he's kind of is he a 3-and-D kind of guy?
I think so.
3-and-D, kind of a wing player.
Yeah.
Same thing with Carrera, the kid from overseas.
Oh yeah, from France. Yeah, from France. Yeah.
Yeah, he's same kind of a player. He's not your necessary rebounding, shot blocking. Well, that kid's not for sure, the France kid, but
he weighs 180 pounds. Yeah, he would push around ACC. 180-pound kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's coming off of a red shirt.
Yeah. I mean, we need some go to Corral for the next few Sundays to basketball stadiums, put some masks on them because
what is it, Wood Grill?
They go to Corral,
send him to the Wood Grill, send him up the street and say, hit the Wood Grill, man.
Every Friday night, send him over there, tell him sit there for an hour or two, eat.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I said,
up the street. But man,
I mean, right now, I was up for a Jack Salt type right now. If you can find somebody like Jack Salt, I'd be happy with that. Set screens, rim protector.
Yeah. That was what Anthony was, but he was a more athletic Jack Salt. That kind of a player, and that and his potential was immense. And between him and Kofi, those two guys, I think they could have been special if they would have stayed, at UVA. And but we'll see how everything goes, and we'll keep you up to date. But we gotta get you back here, Matt, man. We gotta get you on a little bit more. You got any ideas or anything you wanted to say about the football program before we get out of here?
Well, I mean, I saw some of the video, the highlights. The quarterbacks are good. I mean, they got potential.
Okay.
But you got to have that line blocking for them. If not, every time they stop the ball, run for their life. I mean, and that's, I mean, like I said, right now, they should win 7 to 8 games this year. I mean, it's not, will they do it now? I can't say they will, but, one thing about it is they spent the money on that transfer portal, getting that, You got one kid hurt though. What's his name? Monroe Mills.
Yeah, Monroe Mills. Yep.
And it seems, and I don't know what's going on with those practices, man. I mean, every spring practice we lose somebody to a torn ACL. I don't know if I mean, I don't know if they're working too hard or it's not pacing them correctly. I mean, I don't know.
I just think that happens at all schools. You know, you get that unfortunate. You know, it's just you just hope that it doesn't hit you as hard, as it can, and that's pretty much what happened with him, and that was just so unfortunate because, like Wood was saying, we were looking to really see him solidify that side and
Yeah.
make that offensive line a real strength for a program that really needed it. Especially when they had been losing linemen like a fourth grader losing teeth for the past 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had linemen, by the fives running out of this program.
Yeah.
And to finally get some linemen, that had a measure of success from other programs wanting to commit here.
Yeah.
In more than just onesies and twosies. We had like 3, 4, 5 guys come in this year, and a couple guys from last year that came in that were left over that had gotten hurt. So, I was looking for it being, it still can be a strength, but
No.
losing your cornerstone left tackle is really going to hurt.
Well, I'll say this though, this is going to be either an indictment or a validation of Elliott's coaching skill this season. I mean, you could argue the last few years, the nightmare that happened a couple years back with we lost 3 players. I mean, I'll give that one. I won't hold against him. I mean, but now he has enough talent on that team to make an impact. He doesn't do it. We know it's his coaching ability.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just too much talent on this roster right now to settle for anything less than a bowl game. I mean,
Right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So let's go ahead and close it on out, man. Wood, let me go ahead and bring you in, man. What would you like to say? What would you like to say in your closing statement? I know we're going to talk a little baseball as well, but looks like we hit our time here. But and some softball because the girls actually definitely deserve some shout outs for what they've done with the 2 no-hitters, combined 2 no-hitters, and girls are on fire right now in softball doing their thing. But anything you want to say quickly about the baseball and also anything in your closing monologue?
Yeah, I'll say the stock on softball's up. Baseball, we're coming back. We had a big series win over Pittsburgh. We struggled tonight with Liberty, but I don't know. I think Matt wrapped it up well right there. What he just said as far as football, I think all the excuses are out the window. Elliott's. We're all rooting for him, but he's got. We spent a lot of money in the portal here recently, and I think 6 is the minimum to keep his job. But softball stock is up. Baseball, don't give up yet. And football, we'll see. But we got to get 6 minimum.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What do you got to say, Matt, in closing? Welcome back, first of all, bro. Well, welcome back.
I appreciate that. Well, I want to kick my hat off to Kyle Guy going to Nevada to be assistant coach there. I mean, hate to lose him.
Great call.
I mean,
great call.
The kid's UVA royalty. I mean, come on now. You can't underplay what he meant to this university.
Mm-hmm.
But, I told somebody the other day, a lot of times it's a difference of philosophies. You can't get mad at him. You can't get mad at Odom.
Right.
Different coaches, different philosophies. So, the show goes on.
That's right. The show goes on. Well, what I like to say is, being a UVA fan, like I said, never a dull moment. A lot of ups and downs as any sport, but definitely being a follower of the University of Virginia sports. And sometimes you think, you're supposed to, and you never want to count your chickens till they're hatched, especially with the price of eggs nowadays. I'm just saying that with, the way that the football program's looking and the way the basketball program's looking, your big money, or football's your moneymaker, but basketball is kind of like your sustaining. And we are a basketball school just by nature and also by success, and also what everybody from the outside of the university looks at us as. Those are supposed to be our sustaining brands, and both of them are in turmoil. Everything's up in the air right now, nothing to depend on. And then let's give it up for the ladies. Coach Mox is
yes.
doing the damn job. Okay, let's give it up for Coach Mox for doing
Absolutely.
the damn job at recruiting. She is crushing it. Let's give it up for our coaches and players at over there at the new softball stadium, couple years old now. The ladies of the softball program, the coaching staff are smoking it right now. The ladies from the swim team who killed it, the swimmers. I'm just saying, the ladies at University of Virginia are holding it down for the fellas right now. And that's all I got to say. I'm gonna have to leave it at that. Okay. And a lot of people out there want to give Miss Carla some guff. Hey, give her some credit. She brought Odom in. She's letting him do his thing. And let's see how it all plays out. The ladies of Charlottesville, the ladies of Virginia are holding the sports program down currently. And let's give them the time. And let's see how the men can play up to what the ladies have done so far this year. But we want to thank all of you for hanging out with us and spending some time. But we'll be back next week. But as of now, thank you for hanging out. But the shop is closed. Thank you, guys. We will see you next week.